Aloha mai kākou, happy Aloha Friday. Welcome to Huewai Ola. My name is Kahele Chang. It's my pleasure to be your host. Huewai Ola is a webinar series brought to you by Ahakane and Kana. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to strengthen our ohana by uplifting and empowering our kane, our Hawaiian men. Huewai Ola means a gourd of living water, referring to a man as a vessel of life guided by the god Kane. In Hawaiian culture, gourds also represent knowledge. In this series, we'll be introducing you to some extraordinary kane, cultural practitioners, scholars, leaders in our community. They'll share their perspectives, practices, and advocacy in our lahui. Aloha nui to our viewers out there. Mahalo for joining us today. As we get started, please shoot us a quick aloha in our Zoom chat box or Facebook comments and let us know where you're joining us from. All right, welcome to episode 19. A very, very special episode for all of us, remembering Ioane Burns. Let's meet our guests for today. On September 7th, just a few days ago, Hawaii lost one of its most talented and charismatic kanaka. He was a pillar of our Hawaiian music industry and did so much for the community as well. Besides being one of the finest sound technicians here in the islands, he might be better known for his career as the bass player for the Kuana Torres band. He's our brother, and his name is Ioane Burns. There's been a beautiful outpouring online of comments and stories of how he's touched so many lives, but today, for me personally, I really want to share space and time with these two gentlemen who are dear friends of mine and very closely connected to our brother Ioane Burns. Please help me welcome Glenn Maeda and Kuana Torres Kahele. Aloha mai kākou.
Aloha.
Aloha.
You there, Glenn? All right.
Yep.
Thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon. We have rescheduled and changed everything around just so we can take a moment to celebrate our brother Ioane. And I thought who better to talk story with this afternoon than the two of you. Glenn, can you get us started on anything you'd like to share from maybe a little further back?
Yeah, and thank you, Kahele. It's good to see you. Man, I was thinking, I just went over to Kuana's house the other day, after we got the shocking news. That was Monday night. But, we've been close to him, and a lot of people are close to him for many years. I think even yourself going back to high school days.
Yeah.
I must have met him maybe a few years after you, and kind of reflecting. I think that's why it kind of made us so get caught off guard and stuff, because he was young and relatively healthy, and we were just we were with him not too long ago, and as we often do throughout the week, we have our text threads that we bombard each other with. Every few days, we always kind of keep in touch with each other about a bunch of different kind of stuff. So we just was kind of texting with him the other day. So it was a total shock for us, and really sad and hard initially. But I think after I went to go spend some time at Kuana, took my wife over there. We went go kind of talk story together, and just I think for me, I don't know what I mean. It's kind of feel better that he's had a great life, and seen all the outpouring, like you said, of stuff on Facebook. It's just a bunch of happiness for us. Yeah. He was never a person to want the attention or want anything like this. Much like us, we're not that kind. Yeah, we're not expecting any of this kind of stuff, but the different people from here, from stuff with Kuana, stuff with his work, stuff with his sound stuff. I mean, it's just it makes us happy that a lot of people knew him in many different facets, I think. Yeah. Kuana?
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree partially somewhat about the not wanting attention, depend who he's with will determine that. Because when we're on the road and when we with all our mutual friends, he's total the opposite, and he's always stealing the attention. He always gotta one up us. If me and Glenn has a conversation about something that has nothing to do with Ioane, we can be doing nothing, and he'll come LA us, and then he'll try and upstage us or one up us or do things that we don't even remotely care about, and it's so uninteresting. But that just added to the whole, to the patya about just the interaction and the relationship that we had over the betterment of what, a span of almost 10 years with each other. My relationship with Ioane goes all the way back to when I first came to this island from Hawaii Island. This is talking about Akoni and the Palapalai Patch days. And I met Wane by way of Hokusuru Meister because at the time they were Kanaka.
Right.
And
I missed that group too.
you know, from that point, we've had a history, and our relationship began at that time. So we're going back to the 90s. And, you know, we've been close. As the years went by, the closer we got until one day, Ioane found himself in my group. Actually in a couple of my groups, yeah, because we actually brought him in to Napalapalai at one point. And the only recorded album that Ioane is singing on is that one Napalapalai album called Ha'a, where you can find his voice singing spread throughout that album. But yeah, it's just been such a wonderful, wonderful year. But most specifically, this last 10 years, where in the KTK band with Glenn, Wane, and myself, we've gotten so close. I think so close that we never realized until we lost Wane. How close and how wonderful of a thing that we had both on stage and off stage. Like Glenn said, we had, you know, daily, if not weekly, conversations every other day, sometimes every day. It was, I would want to say almost every other day, because, you know, thankfully with iPhones, you can mute conversations, because them too, once they get on one subject, it's all there. They can start texting, and I'll walk away from my phone. When I come back, get the red thing on the text stuff that says 172. That's how much freaking back and forth. Oh, so luckily I can mute my phone, because if not, the thing would be pinging. And I tell you, Kahele, off the wall kind thing, the things they talk about. One moment they're in Hawaii, next thing you know, they're on the shores of Japan, and then from Japan, they stay across in Ecuador. I don't know. They go all over the place, just random kind of stuff. But they only bust, laugh. And once in a while, I'll chime in. I just kind of look over the text every so often, but majority of the time I'm in it without choice. But usually it's them too. One England going back and forth, giving each other's gas, comparing or whatever.
Okay, so just for reference, I mean, who doesn't know Ioane? But as far as our audience, there are people who haven't heard of him before, possibly. Could you just give a quick introduction of who this brother is to our music industry and to our Hawaiian community?
If you guys don't know Ioane, don't worry, it's not missing much. Ioane, here in Hawaii, if you guys never heard of Wane, or his name is Ioane Burns. He's a Kamehameha School graduate. He was music's in his family. He's Hawaiian, Tahitian. His dad lives in Tahiti. Tahitian runs in his koko. He was a bass player mostly, which is what he was known for. And he played with, gosh, so many groups, so many great people. But we were fortunate enough to call him our own. He was a part of my group Knuckle Apply, I mentioned earlier, um, until he made his way into what we affectionately call the KTK band, which is myself, Glenn, and Ioane. Ioane was our bass player for the better of 10 years. And we've created a wonderful relationship with him over that time, like brothers, literally. And aside from that, in the past several years, he's also made a name for himself as one of Hawaii's premier um, sound technicians. He was actually the guy, you know, every time any musician in Hawaii, and that's not just on the Hawaiian side, but over on the other spectrum of the musical scene, if Ioane Burns was in the house, everybody's like this, can you come? Something wrong with the sound system. Can you check them? Can you go fix this or fix that? And he would do that. And Ioane was that nerdy type of guy. He loved sound systems. He would often bore the hell out of me and Glenn, telling us about this new board that he's gonna buy. And once he starts talking, we're super not interested. We don't want to hear him. And when we do gigs, like when we go to Japan, you know, we'll be on the stage getting ready for the show. He's out there talking to the sound guy on the board, just sharing what he bought and looking at his toys. He's like, oh yeah, I get that too. How do you like that? And so uninteresting. And it bores us. But yeah, he was a wonderful, wonderful sound technician. He just started out rolling out his new LLC, Burns Sound Tech LLC. Is that what it's called, Glenn?
Yeah. And did you? We forgot Kuana. Even the kind of, so like even with his day job, so he's been in many different types of technological day jobs. One he had before, he was working as, I think he like mainly installing security cameras and stuff. So it all kind of goes in line that, you know, I even forgot, just remembered right now that, yeah, so he has a degree in I don't know what you call it.
Something interesting.
Yeah. He has a degree. Over here, he got a Honolulu. But that's how he started working in that career. And, you know, actually, we didn't know how good he was because we knew he did sound system and stuff. But I think over the last, 8 years or so, I think when we seen him in different situations, I remember one time even we were on stage in San Francisco, I believe. It was a really nice, super nice venue. And Kuana was getting mad. I was getting mad because, you know, we just go inside there. We dressed all any kind, but we're there for the sound check. And we're doing our thing. And the sound guy was having a really hard time dialing us in. There's a lot of problems. And Ioane is just kind of, you know, that's him. He's kind of patient and quiet, you know. He's just kind of checking it out. He's kind of like just shaking his head. And then finally, like, we just had it. And like, I think he could see how frustrated we were because not only that, the guy was kind of talking down to us too, yeah. And finally, Kuana turns to Ioane and goes, Ioane, talk to him. And so Ioane, like over the mic he pulls out his phone, which he has all these apps and stuff on top. And he's got all this, I don't know.
He has this thing on his phone, Kahele. It's an application that measures frequencies in the environment room. So a lot of times me and Glenn will be on the stage.
I'm guilty. Ready. I got that same app.
And then Ioane is like this on his phone. He's putting things, he's putting in parameters or whatever the heck he's doing. And then he's like,
yeah. But, you know, for a long time we thought he was crazy. We just laughed at him. And then I think over the years after that, San Francisco, he fixed all of that. And a lot of times he was with these major sound crews on the road, and they were actually started consulting him. So I think, you know, after a certain time, we're like, hey, like we don't ever really blow smoke up each other's elemu, but you know, after a while we saw like he was really good and he kept on improving and stuff. So I think then we started, everybody when they come to us and stuff throughout different parts of the community and industry, They always asking us stuff, and we just need to tell them, go talk to Ioane. And every time.
But his way of communicating too, because he had a way of telling the sound man he's doing everything wrong, but still make the sound man feel like he's the
Right.
best guy in the room.
Yeah. And we can't do that. We don't have the. That's not the language. So.
Right.
And so, yeah, he did it within a way that could fix it. And I think that's one, trait. If you're talking about Kahele and stuff like that, we do all need a person like that within our Hui who can get through some of those really tough situations where a bunch of us within the group, we hitting some roadblocks. Yeah. And that it's important to kind of push through some of that. And when it came to stuff like that, he helped us out a lot. And so I believe a lot of other artists went to him after that because we would vouch for him and say, no, you know what? Not only is this guy good, but he's there to kind of make you guys. He's really interested in making them sound good. Yeah. However that happened. Yeah.
I got a message from Doug. He said the thing he studied is either what he studied or he worked with informational technology, network system administration.
That sounds pretty.
That was his day job, maybe.
Okay, yeah, no, and so, no, he was really good about a bunch of different stuff. Yeah.
My little story about him was like, so you both worked, you and Glenn and Ioane worked with us at Aulani, and he was always giving tips on stuff to get for the musicians, DA boxes or mics or this. So even for me, because I play the same NS bass as him, or a little larger size, and he said, "Bro, you gotta get this setup. You gotta get this DI." Okay, great. Yeah. Oh no, but you gotta double it with this DI and get this tutor and get this thing. So I had this pedal thing for my bass that was bigger than a bass almost, and I finally I had to save up to get it. When I finally showed up to something with it, Ioane had a whole new setup. He had all new stuff. He's like, "Oh no, okay. Now you gotta get this one and this one." So he was always ahead of the game as far as tech, and a lot of people appreciated that about him for sure.
Yeah, he had a small cult following of all these bass players that would check out his stuff, and they check out his setup and all this kind of stuff, and then he would just pretend like, "Oh, it's nothing. I don't, this whole thing, and then the next week he shows up with another device, and we're like, "Wow, Ioane, this is getting out of control."
But he also flaunts that. So when he comes up with something new, and people see that, and they go, "Wow, what is that?" And they start admiring it, and he's on the side watching them release. He's like, "Yeah, boy."
Yeah. Yeah.
How's that, boy? Mean that. And I am on the side like, "Oh my God, shut up, Wyatt."
All our Tejati musicians are victim to that. Same thing. As soon as you get them and show them to him, "Oh no, that's not good anymore. Now you gotta get this one." Too funny.
The hardest things, even at Aulani, where we have a bunch of us, we play multiple instruments and bass and stuff,
right.
And even different, we rotate in and stuff, but it's always been the hardest thing for me too, is that it always comes down to where as much as we tease him, we always go back to, or when we had even a couple of new musicians, we're like, just go listen to Ioane, try to do like that or something. And then he's always over there, like Kuana said, always so happy. But we said, "Yep, as much as it pains us to say this, can you go sound a little bit more like Ioane?"
So Kuana, as far as Ioane joining your group, whether it was called Kuana Torres or Napalapalai, how was that initially bringing him into playing music with you and your first experiences with him?
So, when Napalapalai, a long time ago, when Napalapalai first parted ways, that was around the time when I first started to do my first solo album. And I was scared at the time I was scared. I had never done solo, never gone solo, was afraid because it was something new for me. And Wane at the time I think around that time had just started coming back to Oahu because for a short run, he moved to the Big Island. He was living in Kohala and working with my cousins. the Lim family. And so he did a whole thing on in Kohala, and then he started to come back to Oahu because he was going to college to get the degree for that uninteresting job that he had. But you know, I gotta say, you know, me and Glenn, every time we go someplace, Wane always had to tell us what he did today, because his job description, technically he's the only person in the state that could do what he did. And I guess there were several companies that were really trying to get him to go work for them, but he ended up with this, I don't know what company he was working with, but just to give you an example, he's the one that could wire an entire security system for a bank, a major corporation. He hooks up all their hard drives and all this technical stuff that he did for major corporations. He was the only one at the time that could do it in the States. So he did have a major job, but a lot of the times he would come to a gig or when we have a practice, and we'd show up and we're just lounging with regular, and here comes one of like, oh, today I had this hardest, I had to do this, and I had to do that. And we're like, oh yeah, Glenn says, oh yeah, I had my kids, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh yeah, I was working in the mala today, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, no, bro. I had to deal with this lady, and then I had to do this at my job. So-and-so never showed up. And he has this long list of people that he wants to tell us about. But, quite frankly, me and Glenn really doesn't care. And he and Glenn are like doing other things while he's talking. And he finishes his thing, and at the end he goes, F you guys.
I wonder if all his IT crew from his day job has the same stories but backwards. Like, oh, he always come to work talking about these musicians and this concert.
Talking about
Oh, so boring.
So we listen. We listen a little bit more.
Travis Kaka just did comment. He said the same thing. He's always had the hardest day than anybody else.
Yes, Travis. That's so funny.
Yeah, I met it. Where we really started to get close was back then when I first started to do my first solo album, Kauna Loa, and then from Kauna Loa, that's when I asked Ioane if he would consider to play bass for me, because I was thinking in the long run, I'm gonna make this solo album. Who am I gonna take out on the road with me to push this album? So I needed a crew. So that's when I first asked Ioane. So this is going back to 09-ish. But at 09, 010, we were already doing Nanea, remember?
Yeah. 09, yeah.
Ioane helped with Nanea as well. So, not in the studio, but he would help us, me and Kehau, push that, because that's when we officially brought him into Nakalapalai at the time.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he was pulling bass for us, for me and Kehau. And then Kehau parted, and then it was just me and Ioane, and then we released Ha'a. And then after Ha'a, then I did Kauna Loa, solo album. And then Ioane just stayed with me from that point on. And then once Kauna Loa was done recording, that's when we went to get Glenn. We had several musicians leading up to get Glenn, but Glenn was the fifth.
Oh. He was the fifth, so guys.
The fifth.
Had 4 guys before. Fifth.
He had a fifth.
No, they stressed me out, Kahele. When they asked me to play with them, it was like 2 days before the gig, and same thing with it always happens to me like that. And then there was some scheduling stuff, and Ioane to text me, goes, bro, you can play with us. I said, what do you mean? He said, we get one gig at what's that Hawaii Museum, Kuana?
Yeah.
Downtown one. And then I said, yeah, what we gotta play? He says, here, I'm gonna email you all this stuff and try to learn them. So I'm stressing out, trying to memorize everything, because that was our pre iPad days. You know, memorize
Ah,
everything. That's how we always did, all of us, from the long time ago. And already Ioane was with Kuana for a couple of years, so they had this big, long list of repertoire that that we always go through. And so just that first album, you know, I was familiar with the album. I loved the album, but I didn't know the ins and outs of it. So I learned it. Then I'm just about almost ready, and I texted Ioane. I said, "Oh, I had a couple of questions. Hey, what is the chord on this, and what do I sing on this?" And he goes, and then he told me somewhere through that, "Oh yeah, just write it on your iPad." And I said, "What do you mean write it on my iPad?" He goes, "No, here, I'll send you all the files and just notate on the iPad, and we use this app called this and stuff." I said, "Oh yeah, that's the app I want to show couple guys after my brother-in-law Imua showed me that Unreal book thing." And
all right.
and then, you know, so I said, "Oh, okay." And then that was the first gig we did.
Yeah, and then that's when iPads became a thing for us.
Yeah. Malia texted me and said he has an IT degree. So
Okay.
that's it. I believe that's his 2-year degree that got him started working in that field. So.
And if you told us that, we'd probably say, yeah, I still don't care.
So what musically, what made Ioane special?
Oh gosh. Which
Be
would
nice
you like to call from, Mr. Maeda?
Like either vocally or instrumentally?
Kahele, you know what? We discussed this probably over the last year, because over the last year, sometimes even myself, you know, we're getting a little bit older now, and we've had some mistakes even in some arrangements that we all know, yeah. And that's what kind of makes it nice about the iPad. When we're using the iPad, a lot of times we're not looking at it unless it's a song we never did in a long time. But it's for those 1 or 2 chords. First of all, is to figure out, oh, what key is this song in again? Once we kind of get the stuff, we pretty much, you cannot really go through a whole song and be reading the thing. If not, you're going to be all lost. So it's just there as a reference. But over the last year, every time me and Kuana are like, oh, he missed this one. But we came to we came to a place that even about a year ago, yeah, Kuana, and we were like, you know what? But overall, him missing, or me or Kuana or anything, missing these one chord here and a chord here, a key change there and stuff like that. But overall, it's kind of more important about the timing. It's more important about the feel, the blend, all of that stuff that is more foundational as a musician. And then you cannot really teach. Like, so, you know, me and Ioane, we're not the greatest lead singers on earth, but I think it's more some of the foundational stuff. Like for us, when we play with different artists like Kuana, anybody else, you gotta kind of adjust to how they sing. And Kuana sings a wide range of all kind of styles, within.
Yeah.
If he gonna scream high, then, or if he gonna, in some of his other songs, there's a lot of different voices within that. And there's no time on stage to teach that or cue that up. You just kind of gotta feel your way to support the music at that point. And I think that's one thing that made him really good.
Yeah, definitely. And then you guys use iPads because Kuana would release CDs every 6 months, yeah?
Every 3.
Good thing only get 8 islands.
Every 3. And then he does have a couple Christmas, and there's enough life stuff that once in a while we get requests for. So it's a big catalog.
I don't know what I was thinking when I did that whole island thing. It's probably the stupidest thing I ever thought of in my life.
Yeah, that's some amazing music, though.
And it was amazing. And I finished it. So I'm happy about that. But I give the boys credit. I really, really applaud Glenn and Ioane, because a lot of, they're just learning an album. And by the time they get them, another album comes out. And then so they're learning that one. but singing this one. And then, at some point they get all confused.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I think we have a surprise guest that is going to join us. Uh, Kaipo, are you able to put the camera on?
Is that Auntie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if we can hear. Aloha, Auntie.
This one, Ioane's mom.
I think she's like 3 blocks away from me somewhere. There she is.
Yeah, we're on the phone with her trying to teach her the tech side. She said Ioane used to help her with all that kind of stuff.
Didn't he do it for all of us? I got so used to
Yeah.
the fact over the years when we couldn't figure out something, I would just turn to one and go, "One, please," and then he would just go. He knew exactly what I wanted him to do, so he would just mute his bass, get off the stage, go fix whatever he had to do. Or if I needed one EQ, he would come up to my LR bags and he would turn a little bit knobs for make them sweet. And
Yeah.
as the thing's sounding better, he's looking up to me and go, "How's that? How's that?" And then,
Oh,
and then of course, at the end, he needs to say, "Sound good, eh? Sound good, eh? Better, eh? Better." I'm like, "No, it sounds like shit. Get away from me."
But he really did have a passion for it, and he really enjoyed just
And
fixing things and making things sound better.
he really, really did have a nick for it. He did. He
Yeah.
really had an ear for that kind of stuff. He could hear frequencies. He could put things out of the air. He knew how to fix anything and almost everything just by looking at a board, just by listening via things through that app that measures whatever he's measuring. I mean, he was able to do so much things, and we knew that. KTK band knew that, and we often took advantage of that. Not took advantage of him, but of his talent or what he could do. And we got used to that over the years, where we could show up to practically any gig. And as a musician, Kale, a musician's nightmare is no matter how good of a rig you have, you're at the mercy of the sound man. So you can have this
Yes.
$1 million rig, but if the sound isn't up to level, then that all just goes out the window. So we were super lucky that we had Ioane in the group, not only as a musician, but also he had that other talent where he could take the worst sound and make it sound into $1 million sound. Even outdated sound systems, he had the ability to do that. But also, moreover, Ioane over the years started to develop this thing where he would always carry on him certain things just in case if the sound is lacking, he would have this chord, or if the board was totally obsolete and wasn't good enough, he had his mini board in the car and he would just swipe it all out and put this thing in. And sometimes if the sound was totally junk, he would just disconnect them and set up his own sound. So
Great.
we got so spoiled over the years having him.
So where have you traveled together? Mostly all Japan.
Um, we
That's a,
did the mainland circuit started to pick up a lot with us. We did West Coast a lot. We did East Coast. Japan was a normal thing for us. Um, but when we travel, we had the short ones. But in the past several years, we started to do um, a lot of long trips. So when I say long, I mean like we're talking about just short of a month. Sometimes trips that is just over a month. We had the longest trip by far that we had was when we did a 32 city or something in the 30s, yeah, Glenn, for the
yeah.
Japan one. And that was, I think, out of all the tours we've ever done, by far that was the best one. We hated each other's guts because we were traveling on the bus. We were with each other for 32 days plus. We literally did I think it's a little bit more than 32 cities worth of concerts. But when we had the idea to do it and the options of how we wanted to travel, they said we could do train, we could do airplane, or we could do a minibus and just rent a minibus and we can just take everything with us on the bus and go. And I opted for the bus because I thought, hey, how nice would that be? We can see the country on the road like a real bus tour kind of thing. And, we're going to be up in each other's personal space and blah, 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 blah. And, even though there was some points in the trip that we wanted to choke each other's neck, it was the best trip by far that I've ever had with Glenn and Ioane in a long run. So much memories on that trip, so much laughing. I mean, Glenn and Ioane had, in the middle of this trip, Glenn was on this healthy, physical, I gotta work out every day, but I also have to eat 70 meals a day to balance that out. And then somehow he convinced Wane to get on that boat. So not only did you have Glenn doing it, then you suddenly had Ioane doing it. And just before every gig, Glenn would bring this rope thing that you throw over a doorknob or over a door, and they're like this. He has one, and Ioane has another, and both of them are on the door doing this thing. And I'm over there watching, and I'm like, and then when they pow, they say they feel so accomplished. Ioane is over there telling Glenn, "Yeah, boy, oh," and Glenn's like, "Yeah, mean, bro, mean the workout." And I'm like, guys. It's so stupid.
And then and we started to do this running thing for some reason. And then, you know what the funniest thing is that, well, not only was funny when Kuana joined us that one time, and then, but the whole time we were training because we have a lot of time. We figure, let's be healthy, let's be productive, all of this positive stuff we started on, We started running, so I was like, I'm up to 3-4 miles easy. And I finally convinced Ioane. And same thing I think I said in a couple of my posts. You know him. He doesn't like exercising at all, ever. But he came to me, which is total Ioane. I mean, he would just go, just to be a good friend. And we went a couple times, and I was so mad at him because I was training for so long, and I was so proud of myself. I got up like 3-4 miles. And he starts running with me. I figured, here's this guy who never exercises. I'm going to smoke him. And he pretty much kept up with me. And it made me so angry at him. But that was our, and then he convinced Kuana, I think, a couple times, came running with him. And I think Kuana almost killed him some asthma and stuff.
It was only one time. And I almost threw up at one time, and I gave up. You guys let me know nothing. I walked the rest of the way.
I forgot about that.
I have Flintstone calves. I cannot run.
But yeah, Kahele, it's mostly Japan, and there was a whole bunch of West Coast stuff. Did we go? I'm trying to think of other. I can't remember a lot of the.
And we went all over the creation. And with me, because I have several schools in Japan, that creates opportunity a lot of the time. So there's a lot of shows, there's a lot of concerts, there's a lot of tours that we do just there in Japan as a result of my schools that are there. Also, my relationship with one of my best friends also over there, Saki Ochiai, who has several tours a year that she does. So we have that added to the pot. So when we go to Japan, we go often, and we're talking about almost a dozen times as KTK within a calendar year. And it's something we really look forward to because, when you go someplace like that so often, there's things you really look forward to. And Ioane had several things that he really looked forward to. He would often, like on our off days, he would often go to what they call the men's club, which is just this bar or gentlemen's club. Yeah. Glenn, they call him, or something.
No, I think that sounds inappropriate. It wasn't called that. It was his whiskey bar and something else. Yeah.
I thought it was called a gentleman something.
No. I don't, so anyway, he did have his.
I went.
No, he went. Yeah. No, but he always had his. When we were on tour, I just was thinking about this. He actually taught me before all of this stuff. Yeah. And Kuana went a bunch of times, even probably double the amount that I used to go. But we had so much time in between some of the, maybe every 5-6 days we'd have 2 days off or something. Yeah. So he took us around, or took me around a lot, and we just go explore. We just go check out this, check out that. He was the one probably actually showed me how to use the train really comfortably. And he told me, well, Brian Tolentino taught me years of this and this. And so after that, it's just like, it became like a home away from home, for us. We were there so much, yeah.
But it's not
Okay, I think Auntie's back on. How's it, Auntie? Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me? You can hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, good. Wani not here for help me with this.
That's okay, Auntie. Good to see you.
Hi,
And where are you now?
me and my husband live in Kapolei.
All right. Well, thank you for saying aloha.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for all the tributes and aloha outpouring that they've been putting on Facebook. The family is enjoying seeing all the performances because I didn't attend all his performances. There were so many. So I'm happy to be able to see some of the performances that he had done in the past. And his sister said that she had that song, Catching a Wave. She put it on a loop and she was playing it all day the day after he passed, just crying. The family is still healing from it. We're still in shock. He was such a good son. You folks
Yeah.
know him as a good man, but I remember him as a good boy. From 8 years old, he would partner with me in helping watch his younger siblings from when he was 8, because I was working 3 jobs and it was hard for me to get a babysitter on the night shift job I had. So he would cook their dinner, make sure they got their baths, make sure they did their homework, and he put them to bed. So for about 8 to 10 years, he was doing that for me, and I greatly
All right, on Auntie.
appreciated that. So from a boy, he was a good man.
Yeah, we saw all the video that I think you're talking about with catching a wave and had his picture and everything. So our condolences to you and the entire family, and thank you so much for saying aloha to us today. And you look beautiful. Good to see you, and
Oh,
thank you for stopping by. We really appreciate you.
this is my first time coming out in public. I went into isolation because I had to deal with it.
Yes, of course, and it's only been a few days now, so it's a good time to lean on our friends and family and continue to heal. And that's part of what we're doing today. It's opportunity for us as his colleagues and his friends to heal as well. But thank you
Yeah,
so much, Auntie.
you're welcome, and I'm enjoying the chat on whatever this is. What is it? Is a stream or Zoom or whatever? I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it because it makes me feel like I'm with him again because you guys are all talking about him.
Yeah, he'll always be with us, especially thank goodness we're in music because that's what better way to keep the memory alive of a dear friend and a family member. Yeah, guys.
Yeah, I know his siblings are on also. His sister Sabrina, his sister Shelly, and I know his brother Kana was going to try be on, but he had a client he had to tattoo. So I'm not sure if he's actually on, but he's keeping in touch and listening.
They can,
And his
eh,
Hanai sister Adrian, she was going to
Khaled,
try get on too.
they can rewatch this too, yeah, later.
Yeah.
Yep. So it'll be on the Kanaio Kana page, and then people can continue to watch it.
Okay, thank you. Mahalo.
Okay, Auntie. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Okay.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Wow,
All right.
that was nice to have her.
Speaking of family and next generation, what stories do you guys have of how Ioane has helped others in the industry? Or I know his son is helping him with his sound business, and he has a gift for passing knowledge on, whether it be music or the tech stuff. Or
Well, he just, through Kanaya Nakamura, what is the name of that program, Glenn, that he was doing with Kanaya folks?
Oh yeah, yeah, Mikiala's them program, yeah. That was
oh
like
yeah,
over a year ago or so. We yeah, he
Mentorship. Yeah, he was doing sound mentorship.
yeah, I thought what better way, I talked to Kana them. I thought what better way because there's always we saw he had his own following of these bass players and then sound guys. All of us. I think in Hawaii, half of us musicians. If you play music, you gotta do sometimes before you had to do your own sound. So there's a lot of people that you help with that. And I
oh
told him,
Kaipo saying it. The program is called
oh
Kaulalua.
yeah, Kauluae. Sorry.
No, 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 no. No, 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 no. The program is Kauluae, but Kaulalua is their group name.
Yeah, yeah. It's Kanaya's that's a whole nother story.
Kanaya's group,
But it's
yeah,
Oh,
that's a
okay,
whole
okay,
lot
okay.
because nobody would call him for
okay,
music.
okay.
it's
Kaulalua is technically,
Kauluae.
yeah.
Yeah, so he did a series of workshops, and a bunch of guys attended that. To kind of I think for us musicians, we know some stuff how to do some stuff with sound system stuff, but it's again just like his bass playing. It's the foundational stuff, yeah. That a lot of us we don't read the manuals. We kind of learn on the fly and stuff, and that's where Ioane he kind of thrives in that. He's very thorough, um, and he's got that really good demeanor to um, communicate and help others. Like we said, that situation we had in San Francisco, yeah. And then by the end, he, like you said, Kale, he has that part where he brings people in, and they're all then it's like one big hui, yeah. So they all kind of have worked together. If you noticed, even some of these great sound companies here locally, they all work together. Yeah. Sometimes he's helping them. Sometimes when he has bigger stuff. So that was part of his giving back um, to teach some of his knowledge that he's done.
Moreover, he also had a good eye for talent. And so, oftentimes when we would travel and do gigs, or if he would see or hear of somebody, he would often come up to me and Glenn and go, "Oh, did you hear so and so? Yeah, we should go over there and support." Or he would tell me, "Hey, you should go check out this person. I think he could learn a lot from you. He like doing the kind of stuff you do, so maybe you can, go talk to them." Or he would actually um, introduce us to a lot of people, actually, both in Hawaii and on the road. Oftentimes, a lot of his friends became our friends um, in and around the world. So there was always such a wonderful thing about Ioane is his ability to bring people together. His real candid humor that could just make a room smile, even though they didn't know him. He had that infectious ability to just make people laugh with just his real, because people who know Wane, and sometimes he's just sort of kind sometimes, and you just cannot help but laugh because of how he is, yeah? So when you go in a room and he just says something so off the wall that really makes no sense, or like with me and Glenn's case, we don't care, and it just makes everybody laugh. And one of the greatest things that by far I will miss the most is them two, Glenn and Wane.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because they had, them two, they had one way of communication, yeah. And
Kuana doesn't notice, like for years, me and Ioane is our own support crew to each other because Kuana's always yelling at us. So, and over the years, we know how to support him. I think that's what, like even with Ahakane and stuff, that in each small community, even for Kane and stuff like that, everybody has their own part and it's very valuable. But sometimes what may appear to be, challenges and stuff like that, it's more important kind of to figure out how to work around them. And we ended up, I think that's where me and Kuana is like at a loss. We ended up really just kind of being on the same page where we always look like we fight each other, but we're not. But we're always kind of like behind the scenes. Okay, so Kuana said this and this. What does that mean? Okay, and then we figure them out. And we show up and make it easy on him because he's got to worry about like 50 other things while me and Ioane gotta take care of only these 13 before everything else happens. And to me, it's real vital for that kind of stuff. It's not always the same kind of language. Like Kuana said, it's not always what he says to us doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to the people that are around us and the people important to kind of push forward a lot of these stuff that need to happen. And it's not just performing. He would work in collaboration with Saki's Kuana's promoter, Saki. He would work with a bunch of different facets to help these large projects move along in these different languages and different and ways just to get them done. That was one of the best things about him, is that you could depend on he's gonna find a way, and he's gonna be easy to work with. We only joke and give him crap all the time, but that's the best. That's the only reason why when we talk to you, Kahele, and we talk to other people in the industry, or even not in the music industry, if they need something like that, I say, hey, we'll call our friend Ioane, because we're confident that if he doesn't know how to figure out, he pretty much will figure it out or point them in the right direction to get it done.
Yeah, there's countless stories of, well, especially musicians, but other people as well, where Ioane has really gone out of his way to do something for you or to help you when he really didn't need to. And he's kind of famous for that. So, I mean, that's one thing that we're all going to dearly miss. Funny, because, Glenn, I, for a while, I thought you guys wasn't friends. That's why I think Kuana told me, oh, no, that's just how they talk.
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh,
No.
we really often, you're not the first one, Colin. A lot of times we had to set the record straight for a lot of people. A lot of people thought we were fighting. A lot of people, there were so many times on stage where I said I fired Ioane and that this is his last night playing with us. And when we would get off the stage, many people would come up to Ioane and say, oh, we're so sorry that this is your last night. And we're like, oh, no. Actually, that's just stage humor.
That means good job.
Yeah. No, I think even for me and Kuana too, a lot of our relationships, the closest people we have to that, it's a unique way that we talk to each other, but in the end, that's our closest people. We never actually, even for me and a couple of my other close friends, that we all, it's not for everybody, but I don't even remember, even between the three of us, I don't even remember any one time we've had a bad fight. If anything, we've had a few disagreements at the very best, but not like we're Yeah.
It's always minimal, and it's never. And if there was ever a time where it's never Glenn and Wane, they usually find it's usually me and Wane. And then I'm saying something, and then Glenn, you know, when it starts to get a little heated, Glenn will chime in and like, "Oh no, Mama's mad," and, and then try and break up the whole situation. But you know, it's really really short lived. It's not something that lasts for days. We'll have a little thing right there, and then we'll squash it immediately, and we'll move on. And that's a beautiful thing that we had. In our group, because not much groups can do that. You argue one time, then they'll talk to each other for months, and that compromises the band. And you're lucky if they get back together. But the relationship that Glenn, Wane, and I had was the kind of relationship you would die for. We had such a wonderful relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then we were blessed at with Tihatis when Glenn and Ioane joined us at Aulani once a week. And at first I was like, "You sure you're not in Japan every week with Kuana?" They're like, no, no, no. This particular days we can come. And what was special about that is most of our Aulani crew, not, unlike our other shows, were all younger generation musicians. So I really appreciated the maturity and expertise that Glenn and Wane brought to that crew to show them, well, besides different ways of communicating,
We
uh,
just, we just was
just you
talking
brought so
about
much to to that experience and to that show. So I'm sure
Glenn,
Trav
Glenn
and all the boys are very grateful.
shared with me about how Wane would often ride on his bag to Aulani with his bass on the back, and how there was this one incident where Ioane kind of went off the path and he ended up tumbling into like the ferns that were on the side of the path, and he had just leveled all that bushes. And then a day or two later, they come back, and then the same place where they walked by, the bushes were still already, and nobody fixed it. So they just kept laughing every time they saw that.
That's funny how that's the first memory everybody thinks about is that bag, that rideable suitcase, that and the cowboy hat. What is the cowboy hat story?
We don't know
Oh,
where that just came
no, no,
somewhere.
no. The cowboy hat came from the kind. Mary Monarch. One year we had to sing for Marco Omalu. So
Oh,
they were doing Hawaii no Eka Oi at the time, and the boys were wearing
Hmm.
cowboy type lole for their performance. So I told the boys, let's wear jeans, palaka, papale. So we said, okay. Glenn said, okay, I get on papale, same place that you got your papale from. I was like, okay, perfect. And then when we told Wane, let us know, we can help you get the papale. He's like, nah, I get them already. Okay. And then we show up to the gig. We have lau hala papale, this black weird cowboy hat.
Black Waimea cowboy.
And then he's, not only was it totally off from whatever everybody else was wearing, but it's like he assumed this mantle. Every time he put this hat on, his whole demeanor changed. Where he needed cigar in one mouth, he had the dock shades in the other, and he's smoking and he's looking at everybody. What's up, boy? What's up? And we're like, oh,
his alter
God.
ego or something.
I'm like, oh, the damn hat. But you know what? He matched. He would match that
Yeah.
hat.
He wore it to all kind of places that, yeah.
Yeah, he all kind of stuff. But you know, I told Glenn, you know, from here, this point on, every day, you know, since the day he left, it has been nothing but sadness for us. And every day that passes is more of a reality of what the future gonna look like for us without Burns physically. Yeah? And that'll be something that we're gonna have to learn to deal with, not today, not next month, but over the stretch of time, because
Yeah.
the sad realization is that when we're able to come out of COVID and get back to things normally, you know, I think that's when, for me and Glenn, things will really come into perspective in terms of we don't have him anymore, and we don't have that that kuka kuka, that daily kuka kuka. We don't have the magic man to help us fix us sound. We don't know the third guy on the stage for yell at or rush or tell him stop screwing up on the bass. Yeah, we're not going to have all that in the future, and that's something I'm not looking forward to because I know we cannot address it until it comes. But yeah, it's going to be a rough one, to be honest. And another thing I wanted to say is, for all of you out there that's watching that had wished me a happy birthday, I'm so sorry I didn't reply to anybody, and I didn't officially come up on my Facebook and say mahalo. I hadn't anticipated that this guy was going to dig out on the exact same day. So mahalo everybody for the birthday wishes. But you know, the way I took it was, Ioane, like I mentioned earlier, was very the type to try and upstage me and Glenn in anything that
Yeah.
anything that we had good going for ourselves. He would always want to try and upstage that. So, well, he definitely trumped my birthday, I'll tell you that much.
Hey, so I know there's opportunities to help our sister Malia out. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I think you guys have something else in the works too.
From the get-go, the first thing that we did was create opportunity for everybody to donate. A lot of people were, both Glenn, myself, as well as the Ohana and Malia folks, we all got a pour of cry and aloha and support, and a lot of people asking how they can help. So we created two platforms where people could donate whatever they could to help in support of Malia folks in the Ohana or Ioane. Mainly,
And as you're talking about this, Kanani is going to be putting the link in the comments so people can see it.
the main one is the second. We created two, but the second one, which is the GoFundMe, that's the main
Yeah.
one. The
Okay.
earlier one that we did, the PayPal, it's only local in US. So if you're outside of the US, then the GoFundMe is the one that you wanna donate to, and anything that you wanna give, really, mahalo nui, and we aloha you guys for that in support of our brother Ioane and the Ohana.
And then Glenn, is there something else going on with other musicians, or
Yeah,
we can't talk about it yet?
No, we can. Me and Kuana have been reaching out to a lot of our friends and we, his friends, that he's either played with, we've toured with, or we just know that are kind of special to him. So because of COVID and because Oahu shut down, we have friends around the world, even off island and stuff, that we reached out. They're currently going to be sending us like a few recorded things to be put together. And then we're finalizing a date on Oahu that we're going to be recording some of the groups to be put all together. And we should be coming out with almost like a tribute video or memorial to for Ioane in roughly
Nice.
about 2 weeks. So stay tuned. We're firming up all the dates and everything.
We're calling it Ioane Memorial Pai'aina Campaign, and it's really just a chance for on the musical side, all of the people that really made a dent in Wane's life, people that have history with Wane, not only on Oahu shores, but the Pai'aina and extended on over to the mainland and Japan, and every place of the world. We're trying to include them in this memorial, and we're gonna put them all together, and we'll be definitely giving you guys a holler, as well as Kanaio Kana and any other platform that is willing to help us to put it out there in support of Ioane and his memorial.
Well, mahalo nui. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. Any closing thoughts for the family or shout outs or?
Yeah, I think we're, as much as we feel the loss of him as a really good friend, you know, we're concerned, and we want to kind of respect the family's time to, you know, mourn and remember him. This is our thing. We also reflected on how would Ioane kind of want to have something, and and you know, I said in the beginning, he's not one for a whole bunch of fancy type of attention and stuff, but I know he loves to see and hang out with a bunch of his friends. That's kind of what would make him happy. So we hope that through this is just a small portion of what we're appreciative that you invited us today. But hopefully that concert thing they were putting together can reach a lot of different people that may not have even known him, that they can see a small part of his friends and his family kind of celebrating him. Yeah, so we're excited for that, and we feel like through that, he's always going to be with us as a good friend.
Yeah, definitely. Well, great loss for our industry, for our community, and for our brotherhood of musicians too. And gosh, I really appreciate the two of you so soon after he passed to be able to take the time to share some stories and to let people know how great of a kanaka this guy was, and how good of a friend he was to all of us.
Having us, mahalo for allowing us for share. Just a few of our memories with Ioane, a lot of which you would have to come talk to us in person for.
Yes.
That all the Jesus is so much with him. You know, Malia was texting me on the side as we're talking. She said, "Don't forget to mention his puka shell," which is something I always gas him about, because Ioane would always wear this puka shell necklace. I'm not sure if you guys see him with it, but his puka shell necklace wasn't even real color. He bought them from the swap meet. It's $10. He bought 10 for $10.
I remember that necklace. Yeah.
He bought 10 for $10. It was so cheap, and he loved it, because if this one broke, he'd throw them away and he'd get the other one and he'd put them on too. And I would always tell him, "Wane, I get here a nice one for you." He go, "No, I don't have it. It's too nice. I like this one because it's junk and the thing broke. I can just put on the other one." I'm like, "Oh, Wane, you and your fake, no. Don't miss him. Love him."
For sure. And I think an underlying message to especially the kane, the men in our community, is that it's okay to mourn, it's okay to feel, to cry, let stuff out. And it's very important to share that with people and to share stories, keep memories alive. But again, to Glenn and Kuana, mahalo nui for being a part of our program today. Wonderful stories and good lessons learned as well. Thank you so much for your time, fellas.
Thank you, Kahele.
All right, as we close this episode off, be sure to tune into our other Kanaio Kana programs, Lea Nue Nue, Aloha Rising, Kua Kanaka, Aikole, and of course, Huewai Ola. Aha Kane is also proud to present two new shows, Aha Opio for our teens and Aha Keiki for our little ones. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Aha Kane and at Kanaio Kana. Mahalo to our sponsors. Besides Aha Kane and Kanaio Kana, Hawaii Tourism through the Kukulu Ola program, Papa Ola Lokahi and Consuelo Foundation. During this pandemic, we want you to remember that you're not alone out there. If you do need assistance, someone is there for you. You just got to reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. We have a list of resources on this page, and you can pause it or go back and review this page later. Something very important also, it has just started at about 2 o'clock. Lahui Kanaka is another wonderful movement started by our Kumuhula of Hawaii to culturally enforce these lockdowns and these rules that our Hawaiian community need to follow so we can get back to life as normal. So as soon as you log off of this show, you can hop on to that show, also on the Kanaio Kana Facebook page. There's some other resources listed below. Again, if you need help, reach out. It's there for you. Otherwise, if you have time, help us improve by taking a short survey. We'd love to hear from you. Your voice does count. Please let us know. Otherwise, thank you for joining us. We're here every Friday, usually at 2 p.m. So we'll see you next week on Kanaio Kana's Facebook page or website. Until then, mahalo nui and aloha.
Wow.